Reinvent yourself. Born 17th of December 1974, Leader and Lale Bijan were conjoined in the head. They were victims of each other's choices. For instance, Leader wanted to study law, while her sister Lale wished to be a journalist. In the end, they settled for law and pursued it at Tehran University for 4 years. As years passed by, they were getting increasingly tired of becoming victims of choicelessness. At the age of 29, they resolved they have to be separated. The doctors unanimously urged them to quit that ambition. The chances of a successful surgery or operation, rather at that moment, were very remote. Their family begged them literally on their knees, but they could hear none of it. They wanted to live independent lives, and finally they were scheduled for an operation at Raffles Hospital in Singapore. That material day, doctors, experts from all over the world gathered, and 50 hours into the operation, regrettably, the twins died. They succumbed due to blood loss. But what touched me the most about their story is what these two kids said moments before that fatal operation. We would rather die as individuals rather than live without identity. At this early stage, I want to start by asking you a very simple question. Have you lost your identity? Have you lost contact with you? Have you become acquainted? Have you become addicted to a life without you? Who are you? Very few people are of exceptional value to the organization they work for or even the world at large. Most people are similar. We have similar companies, similar products, similar employees with similar work ethics, similar work attitudes, similar behaviors. Exceptional few people stand out from the crowd. And here there's a test. I want to ask you right now. If you tendered your resignation this afternoon, would your employer call you for a renegotiation? Or would it be a "Phew, finally she's gone"? Now you have a chance to employ a younger person, more energetic, less demanding graduate. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I submit to you, if they can't invite you on the negotiation table, you are like any other kid in the block. You've been trading on name card. You've been trading on commodities, and commodities trade on their price. For you to trade, you have to lower your price. I want to invite you to a higher ground this afternoon where you can trade on your personal brand. This is the only space you can only compete with yourself, with your previous self. In your brand, you determine the terms of engagement and set the rules of the game. In your brand, you can neither be fired nor be hired because you're the only one who has that brand. And I'll try to persuade you the best we can, and I think Lorraine alluded to that fact, whether you go to business, whether you stay in this business, or whether you move on to another employer, you will only remain at a place where you're indispensable when you trade in your brand. Remember this, it doesn't matter the qualifications you have, anyone can get those qualifications. One of the guys I admire a lot is Bob Collymore. He has a diploma in telecommunications. I do a lot of trainings for Safaricom. One of the guys who invite me there more than any other person, Dr. Kinu, a very dear friend of mine, has a PhD in strategic management. His background is engineering. But he reports to the gentleman with a diploma. There is something more than the qualifications. There is something more than the experience you get. You know, you'd rather be exposed and vulnerable because you stand out rather than try to fit in for a lifetime. Authentic people are attracted to the real you. See, the butterfly doesn't appreciate her beauty. She doesn't know the color of her wings. The human eye does. At times, there's some beauty you radiate that you never realize. Sometimes, your beauty even blinds us from seeing you properly. And perhaps you're admiring another person, not realizing they're busy admiring you. And this is the reality about life. The best day of your life is the day you decide your life is your own. No apologies, no excuses. You take responsibility for the standard and the quality of the life you live. And remember this, the quality of your life will never exceed the quality of your thought. And this is the primary reason this session was convened. So I'll be urging you in a moment, stand out. Stop fitting in the crowd. You'd rather be a nerd than be part of the herd. Comparing yourself with other people is an insult to who you are originally designed. I believe with all my heart, the world would experience an explosion of beauty, innovation, creativity, and imagination if each one of us celebrated our diversity, our gifts, our talents, our pursuits, our individual differences. You make the world to the right. Metaphorically speaking, life is like the game of poker. In the game of poker, you never choose the cards, but you're expected to win the game with the cards you're given. You're expected to win in life with the cards you're given. You're expected to deal the hand you're dealt. You never chose your color. You never chose your height. You never chose your gender. You never chose your family. You never chose the timing and the place of your birth. But you're expected to win in this life with the hand you're dealt. Each one of us is laden with historical liabilities. None of us is perfect. None of us is flawless. Each one of us has some secret fears. Born 13th of October, the year 1870, Ben Hooper grew up at a time when kids raised by single moms were deemed illegitimate. He was orchestrated, sidelined, both by classmates, schoolmates, and even the neighbors, including parents. Sometimes when you take the mom to the shopping, the adults would ask him, "Whose daddy are you?" The church never made things easier for him. So he would sneak in church when everybody settles and sneak out before the benediction to avoid this old question, "Boy, who is your daddy?" At the age of 12, a young new preacher was posted to their church. And one day, he said the words of benediction so fast that Ben was caught up in the mix, caught up in the crowd. And then the preacher walked straight to the young man and embraced his shoulders and asked him, "Son, who is your father?" You could hear a pin drop. There was deathly silence in the church that morning. Finally, the bubble has been burst, and everyone is going to know the answer to this old question, "Who is my daddy?" He felt like all eyes were trained on him. And then suddenly, the preacher discerned the situation. And he looked at the young man eyeball to eyeball and said, "Wait a minute. I see there is semblance. I know your family. You belong to the house of God. Son, you've got a great inheritance. Go claim it." And with those words, Ben left that church a different person altogether. He left that place a changed person. Several years down the lane, he said on that particular day, at that precise moment, he was elected the governor of Tennessee. Don't allow your circumstances to define you. Don't allow what you have no control over to define you. Don't allow the shadows of yesterday overshadow the sunlight of tomorrow. Begin to see an invisible summer in the midst of your winters. Failure is part of this life. Sometimes we go through issues you never planned because life is not linear. There is what you expected to turn out. You have a clear plan, as Olin alluded. The Bible says, "Many are the plans in a man's heart, but it's the Lord's purposes that prevail." And sometimes things happen that are not within our control, and there are many reasons why we go through suffering. That's a topic for another day. But here's the deal. Even if it was caused by you or your performance, here's the deal. Failure widens your experience and toughens your skin. Failure is a temporal situation, not who you are. Things don't always turn out as you anticipated, because in real life, things are not linear. And we've got to come to terms with that. Ralph Waldo Emerson was right when he said, "What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us." I read a scripture long ago. I don't know how many of you can cite it. Ephesians 3:20. "Now unto him who is well able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we can ever ask, think, or imagine, according to the power that is within me." That power is within you. Today, I want to teach you some 4 steps to help you reinvent yourself. And the very first step, manage your life shifts. Step number 2, discover your life purpose. Step number 3, personal visioning. Step number 4, and the last one, personal branding. Step number 1, manage your life shifts. Just in case you can hear my voice and you're 40 years of age or thereabout or slightly above that, the years haven't been so kind to you. What you're going to do in the next 2 to 5 years may permanently define or shape your fate or your destiny. Failure to recognize the season you're in fast enough may lead to an irrecoverable midlife crisis. Every single shift you go through in life is never wasted. It contributes to your entire life. All these shifts, the dots will add up someday. They might not add up right now. When you look back many years to come, you might see the reason why you went through this shift. There's always a reason for everything. You can't allow, however, a childhood that went sour to continually shape your choices. You can't allow a past that didn't go per plan continually determine your future. You've got to flow with the changing tides in your life. Think about this. He was born without hands and no legs, but Nick Vujicic turned his bitter lemon into sweet lemonade. He turned his multiple disabilities into a fountain of inspiration, a never-ending source of inspiring others with no hands and no legs. What excuse do you have for not reinventing yourself? What excuse do you have for not turning a bitter past into a bright tomorrow? To help you manage your shifts, let me propose some 4 tips. The first tip I want to propose today: locate where you are. Now, locate where you are in your personal and professional life. And by that I mean 5 areas. Locate where you are, number 1, in your mental life, in your mental health, in your attitudes. Where am I with my attitudes? How do I respond rather than react to circumstances unfolding day by day? You see, a lot of us make a big hoof when we skip a meal. You have no idea, I've not eaten lunch today. But hardly do we say anything about skipping our mental meals a whole year in a row. You can go an entire year without ever being concerned with your mental inputs, the aging upon which you operate. We hardly invest in our mental goals. No wonder when a shift comes, it hits us so hard, because we are not deliberate in feeding our mind. And we make a big story with a slight toothache. We can't even stay for this meeting. I don't know how many mind-aches we could be having. It's number 2. Locate where you are in your relationships, both at home and at work. Examine exactly how you're faring in your relationships. What needs to be fixed? For those of you who are married, I like saying this: a marriage is not made of great honeymoons, but the day-to-day acts that you show each other of respect, admiration, affirmation on a day-to-day basis. There are no quick lips. Thirdly, locate where you are in your career goals. If you've been bypassed by promotion, why were you bypassed? Why did someone else climb up the rank? Why not you? It is not about how many years you have worked here. One mistake a lot of people make: they feel they have the right, they deserve, they are entitled to promotion based on the number of years they have worked. You should always be concerned with the value add, not how long you've worked, not the length, not the duration, but the value, the difference you've made by being in Old Mutual, UAP, Faulu. Locate where you are in your career life. Ask yourself hard questions. If I must be stepping out, why me? You know, this business is being run by capitalists. You need to understand something very basic about capitalists. They really don't care your gender, they don't care your color, they don't care your tribe. They never see you as human beings. They see you as factors of production. They see you in terms of figures, money in, money out. But until you come to terms with that fact, you always think there's someone who is against you. When you understand the thinking of capitalists, you understand the system is either for you or against you, depending on your productivity. The guys who invested from South Africa do not see, they are not here to enrich Kenyans or the landlords in Kenya. I'm telling you this, I do a lot of talks the world over, and I can tell you I've sat with these guys. All they are looking for, we've got to cut this expenditure and increase the sales. Period. It has nothing to do with your name. So you need to continually ask yourself this question: if they must retain one person because of my value add, going forward, wherever I'll go, that must be me. I'm indispensable. We've got to reach that conclusion. I know this is not interesting to tell you, but unless you come to that self-realization of how you are deemed in a corporate sector by capitalists, then you hardly make progress. You'll be going through vicious cycles. Organization after organization, you'll always be on the spotlight. Fourthly, where am I in my financial goals? Locate where you are. Isn't it ironic that we claim to be financial advisors in this business? Whether you're in Faulu or Mutual or UAP, you're definitely financial advisors. And you set financial targets for your employer, but rarely do we set financial targets for our own lives. I'll not ask you to lift up your head. There's no need to embarrass anyone here. But I suspect less than 10% of you have a clear financial target, personal financial target for the year 2018. But your clear target for this business. You're busy advising other people on finances, but you've never advised yourself. You have no single financial tracker, any financial planner, just to check where you are. Because if you have a clear financial goal, it is not pegged on an employer. It factors in risks of losing that job. And number 5, locate where you are in your health goals. I'll tell you this respectively. This is one of the most sensitive areas to ever mention. Africans in particular, we don't like hearing about our weight, especially ladies. And I'll tell you this. Your health is about diet and exercise, and the rest you leave it to God in prayer. Never blame your grandfather's genes. I know without a shadow of doubt, those who've been able to listen to us and were able to work on diet and exercise, you keep your mind alert. You have the energy to keep on going. Your blood flows well. And the mere fact that you're slender doesn't mean you're fit. Isn't that a fact? You could even be having extra cholesterol. So I urge you, always take care of yourself. Why? You can walk out of a harmful relationship. You can run away from a destructive boss or spouse, but you'll never run away from your body. You are stuck with it day in, day out. You'd rather come to terms with your body. So take stock of where you are. That's what I'm saying. And taking stock means making an assessment of the overall situation as a prelude to making informed decisions going forward. Tip number 2, draw the red lines. Decide there's a point beyond which I'll never return. I'll never be broke again. My children must go for holiday. I'll never beg for what I can earn. You must never work where you're tolerated. Work where you're celebrated. Always give your services where they are celebrated. You must draw a line that the enemy must never cross again. And you're the one to draw that standard. Remember this. You set the standard that people use against you. You're the one who set the standard of how others treat you. You use the language that you want others to use on you. Tip number 3, focus on what you can change, not what you cannot change. Focus on what you can change, not what you cannot change. I can't tell you how many people have told me, Doc, you have no clue how he left me 4 hungry children and a rent and no job. Who cares? There are 2 categories of people. One group will have a story to pass on, and the forecast will identify one more bother to avoid. 29th of November last year, it was a Wednesday, I was going with my family to the US. Regrettably, we made a mistake that I have never made in my lifetime. We reached at 1 p.m., very confident. And then the guy looks at us at the gate and tells us, your flight left at 5 a.m. Now I had a choice to make. One choice is to make fun of myself and jump and about, hit the floor, hit the ceiling, and cause some drama until the reporters come and show the other side of the motivational speaker. Then I had another choice to make, to focus on progress, not what might have been. I knew how to communicate to my daughter Ivy. I didn't know how to communicate to my son Zig. He's a very scheduled person, melancholic if you like. He's a kind of a fellow who had planned for that trip right in January. How do you explain to him that we did not understand PM, not AM? To be frank with you, they never indicated AM or PM, and they never wrote it in 24-hour clock. But that notwithstanding, the plane has left. That's the reality on the ground. So I had to think twice. This is the same day the president was being inaugurated. The streets were not very, very nice. But we drove back home. So we took dinner somewhere and then started driving back again at midnight. We reached there slightly before 1 in the morning. And the guy at the gate told us, you guys, are you confusing today for yesterday? Your flight is not this morning. It was yesterday, 5 a.m. I told him I know, just in case another family made the same mistake. And sure enough, another family made the same mistake. And we got a chance. Fortunately, by God's grace, God works in mysterious ways. On first of deck, it was that Friday, I was supposed to be speaking in San Francisco. And I had no clue how I'm going to make it. But by God's grace, the original trip was going through Washington, D.C., then Boston, then to San Francisco. We got a flight all the way from Turkey to San Francisco. And I reached 3 hours ahead of the original trip. And here is my message for you. Focus on progress, not what might have been. Focus on what you can change, not what went wrong, not on perfection. Terry got a baby immediately after high school, at a time when parents were not accommodating kids getting babies before going to college. So she found herself not in good books with her parents, and she left for a job in Nairobi. She comes from Nakuru. She went to look for a job in a bank, and the bank manager told her, excuse me, here we only employ graduates. What's wrong with you? She said, I know, but give me a chance. Don't pay me anything. Put me on sales. You know, you can always get a chance to sell in any single company. Production is not a problem. The only problem in all companies on this planet is selling. So she said, look, give me 3 months. Don't pay anything. Don't pay anything. Let me just sell. She was given a chance. 3 months later, none of those graduates had sold anywhere near Terry. And she began to climb up to senior sales manager, to marketing manager, to the head of finance at Diners Club Bank. She responded. She didn't react to her situation. Regrettably, in 1992, the bank closed down. If you've lived long enough, you might remember that a number of banks collapsed in this country into what we call consolidated bank. She was a victim of that. The only job she knew, and unfortunately, she hadn't gone back to school to make up for her papers. So the only job she knew is no longer there, and she has a son to take care of. But Terry is not a whiner. She's a forward-looking woman. She scanned the environment quick enough. She sold her house that she had bought. She had already cleared the mortgage and bought a beauty shop, a hair salon if you like. 1 shop, 2 shops, 3 shops, then a college, then another one, and another one, 10 shops. And she began to climb up. Many of you now can know who I'm talking about. She is that Terry Mugai. But then something else happened in the year 2013. The terrorists hit Westgate. Terry once again found her best shop where she had invested the most grounded, and that's the reality of life. Now, I have 2 friends, one who responded and one who reacted. Please understand, response is positive and react is negative. For example, if a doctor says, I'm going to change your prescription, you get nervous, you react. But if the doctor says your body is responding to the treatment, you relax because response is positive. If the doctor says you're reacting, that's negative. So I have 2 friends. One reacted, one responded. I'm going to tell you the name of the one who responded, but not the name of the one who reacted. Normally you don't say the name of losers. It's not allowed. Jesus never said it. For example, he tells us about the rich man and Lazarus. He doesn't disclose the man who went to hell by name. Otherwise his brothers who panic. So we don't disclose the name of people who fail. So I have 2 friends. One reacted, one responded. The one who reacted kept nice pictures as evidence. I used to do well in Westgate. But the terrorists. That was 2013, June. Now we're in 2018. She's still having the same story. The what? The terrorists. My friend who responded is Terry. She took a loan of 18 million and bought some space somewhere at Lavington Mall, that floor, and started her biggest salon right there. She wanted to frustrate the objective of the terrorists by moving forward. When they reopened Westgate, Terry was among the first people to reopen her shop. In fact, the one she opened in Westgate is now much larger than the one at Lavington Mall. She responded by looking forward, not analyzing, living in a pity party, endlessly on what went wrong. I want to disrupt myself for a moment and give you some suggestions before I give you tip number 4. Never burn relational bridges. Sometimes when you're living, you're likely to be very bitter with someone whom you think was responsible for your departure. I'll tell you this. When you light up fire, you cannot tell what's gonna burn. And even if you don't burn, you'll still smell smoke. Fire never leaves anyone untarnished. Never burn relational bridges, and never say never, because you never know when life may humble you to bring you back down the same lane. Use your pent-up passion moving forward. My dear wife Mercy, when she left Safaricom, where she used to be in the HR department, when I began doing a lot of work and a lot of traveling in different countries, we actually agreed that she has to leave that job to accompany me. She decided to start a pet business, which by God's grace has grown to over 100 employees. 5 branches now. Some of you are our customers. When she opened the first shop, Tomboya Beauty Shop, it took 7 months to break even. When you opened the second branch, Krishna Center, mezzanine floor, it took 15 days to break even. And we realized the primary reason why it took such a short time to break even is because it was very close to Safaricom, where she used to work. And most of the customers were for her former colleagues. You don't know who is here and will be your first client. Never burn relational bridges. Every relationship you see here, you need it. The greatest capital you ever need in life is social capital. In her own words, networks. My second advice for you, you never work for anyone. Someone else may pay you, may write the paycheck or the pay slip, but you never work for them. You work for yourself. Your current employer may not reward you for how much you think you deserve. But if you discipline yourself to go that extra mile, to do more than you are paid to do, right in this life, somebody will notice your extra mile. You'll be rewarded for that extra effort. Extra effort never goes unrewarded. A lady by the name Ruth, I could give you many cases. Let me just pull one. And I like giving the local stories for you to identify with. She was employed in Equity Bank as a tea girl stroke messenger. But she never worked in that company. She ran. She was noticed by management. She was given a chance as a clerical person. And then she went back to school in the evening. It took her 6 years to work on her personal brand. As I talk to you right now, she's not a branch manager. She's a regional manager. One mistake people make when they're leaving is to leave a gap of non-performance. If I were in your place, I would go that extra mile the few weeks remaining if I'm going out. So much so they wonder who can fit in my shoes. Remember this, these same people you're seeing here, you have no clue who is the next CEO. You have no clue who is the next director. And they know who to pick for their next appointment and who to avoid like plague. I speak almost all major companies in this region, and I can tell you this, you never work for anyone. You work for yourself. This takes me to the fourth tip on managing the life shifts. Look for a mentor or a life coach. So allow me, before selling the idea why you need a life coach or a mentor, to do the difference between a counselor, a life coach, and a mentor. A counselor may advise you on an area they have never experienced before, based on the fact that they have handled such victims severally. For example, a counselor may tell you to stop smoking. Dropping 5 cigarettes this month may interfere with your metabolic function. So just drop 1. Next month drop 2. The other month drop 3. Until finally you continue to reduce the nicotine levels in your body. Now she may never have smoked before, but they can speak authoritatively because they have handled a lot of people who smoked. So you may meet a counselor who has not necessarily gone through redundancy, but they can speak authoritatively. They may be consultants in that area. They have transacted a lot of business along that area. Are you with me? Don't dismiss them and say you can't feel me, you don't identify with me. No, they know what they're doing. Then you have a life coach. A life coach doesn't tell you what to do. They keep you on your toes to achieve your goals in life. For example, most football coaches on this planet are about 50 years of age. They can't play the ball, yet they are guiding the 11 young energetic players in the field. How come? Because they don't tell them how to hit the ball. They ask them difficult questions. How do you want to achieve it in this game? How many hours do you need to put into practice? Then they ensure that they put these guys into practice for the number of hours they agreed, for their teamwork, for their resilience, for their positive mental attitude. That's a coach. For example, you guys listening to me here, whether you're in Faulu, UAP, Old Mutual, the reality is you are business coaches. Why am I saying that? You meet people in different fields and advise them on how to run their businesses. If we have a branch manager in a bank like Faulu, to use as an example, you're fundamentally asking them 4 things. 1, how they're developing their product, how they're differentiating their product or service from the rest. The second question you're asking your customers is about their marketing plan, their distribution plan, their sales plan. What is the size of your market? Who are your competitors? What is your niche? What is your competitive advantage? The third question you're asking them, who is going to do what, why? It's called the management plan. What are their qualifications, experience, and motivation? And these 3 elements are not substitutable. And the 4th thing you're asking them is about their financial plan, especially their cash flow. A mentor is different. A mentor doesn't tell you what to do, they lead you in what to do. For example, if you leave this business and you want to run a school, you might want to meet someone who is running a school and ask them, what do you do in January when parents have not paid? Remember when you were here, you knew the theory. You knew how to work with a bank to bridge the gap in January. But now this is the reality on the ground, which is fundamentally different from the theory you had when you were here. And let me tell you this, there are many things you learn in the field that you never learn in class. Let me give you a personal example. Most of you believe it's cheaper to start a shop downtown than upmarket. Is that not so? So we thought. So when we started the Top Row salons, we went downtown because we wanted to start cheaper. That particular rent was 160,000. The same size of a rent. Krishna Center, where we went to our second shop, is 85,000. It was on 60,000 downtown. You can imagine. We thought it is cheaper downtown. And unfortunately, downtown, they didn't even have a power backup, and they didn't want us to bring a generator. Then they would close the shop by 8 o'clock, and they would not open on Sunday. Krishna Center, 24 hours. When we went to Valley Arcade, the shop was exactly 85,000, just like Questrons. So there are some theories you have that will be bust by the reality on the ground. That's why you need to talk to a mentor. Does that make sense? Yes. So allow me to persuade you why now you need a mentor. First, a mentor will show you the way. A mentor does not point to places that she has never been. A mentor takes the journey and then makes the invitation. You know, Kenya is a strange country. You'll find people who are financially broke holding meetings on financial independence. You look at the pair of his shoe and you can tell this fellow needs urgent financial assistance. But he's busy holding seminars on how to make you financially independent. Never be mentored by a loser. Make sure whoever mentors you epitomize, embody what they are telling you. Last year, March, I was invited by Ladolix to speak to them at Abadea's Country Club. It's a cold place, and I requested whether I can go with my wife, and they agreed. Just a word of advice for the men here. If you are going to a cold place, try something warmer than the blankets. Look for the company, negotiate to be accompanied by your wife. When I reached there, there was a tour guide who said he's going to take us for a walk. So we asked him, are there any animals here? And the guy said, yes, we've got some leopards in the conservancy. But don't you worry, just follow me. I've done this severally. So we followed this guy, 1 step, 2 steps, eventually 10 minutes, 2 hours into the bush. I've got some bad news and some good news. The bad news is this. My wife relaxed, a woman who naturally fears a small animal like a chameleon, was laughing all the way, and her confidence was not in me. That's the bad news. Her confidence was in a strange man. A man she doesn't even remember his name. But the good news is this. The guy knew what he was doing. Suppose the guy told us, mtembee sawa sawa, na mkifika pale mchunge, kuna kuwaga na chui. Could we have taken the walk? No, but the fellow showed us the way. Why a mentor? A mentor will share valuable experience. Experience cannot be purchased. It can only be earned or shared. Why a mentor? Thirdly, a mentor will save you from yourself. They will rescue you from self-destruction. Seeing a mentor may be that stitching time that saves 9. Just like seeing a dentist in good time may save you from tooth decay, seeing a mentor in good time may save you from life decay, or at least from driving in the wrong direction for too long. Just seeing a mentor may save you money, may save you time, may save you valuable relationships. Seeing a mentor in good time may save your finances, may save your resources. Why a mentor? Number 4. A mentor can help network you. They can give you necessary connections. Why a mentor? Number 5. A mentor may help you discover your life purpose. A mentor can help you see the dots, or rather connect the dots, between your God-given talents, the skills you have acquired here and in school, the resources at your disposal, and your deepest passions and interests. Number 6, why a mentor or life coach? A mentor may boost the confidence in you. They may help you see the hope inside yourself. Number 7, a mentor is a trusted advisor. You can trust them with proprietary information and intellectual property. Sometimes in a country like Kenya, You don't know who to share your business idea with before they begin to implement it. But a trusted mentor and a life coach may be trusted with proprietary information and intellectual property. Why a mentor or a life coach? Number 8. A mentor may be a sincere disciplinarian. They will help set boundaries for you that you may not be able to set for yourself. I run a mentorship club, perhaps the largest in Africa, both for people who come for meetings like this, small groups, one-on-one, and through other networks or churches, and even through online. But I do hard coaching. If you come to me and we agree these are the goals you're going to achieve, and then we meet after 30 days, then you can be very sure you will not meet me until you achieve those goals. And sometimes I'll tell people you set too low a goal for yourself. Why a mentor? Number 9. A mentor will keep you on your toes, lest you rest on the laurels. And number 10, mentors are priceless. They don't do it for a pay. The only way you can pay them is by you yourself succeeding and respecting the time and the structure they have put in place. So if they invite you to meet them at 10 in the morning, go there at 9:30. Don't let them wait for you. Rather, wait for them. Let them know you respect the time and the structures that they have instituted. And if you're supposed to meet for an hour, 10 minutes to time, begin to excuse yourself so that you don't become an unnecessary burden to them. But I repeat, you must be mentored by someone who model what they are training you, what they are coaching you, what they are teaching you. The most effective way of inspiring others is bringing out the best out of your own life. You can only effectively teach what you consistently model. So if you're mentoring anyone and you're coaching anyone and you can hear my voice this afternoon, let me give you a piece of advice. Never mentor anyone who doesn't recognize your authority over them. Jesus said, "My sheep know my voice." In other words, not everyone belongs to my sheepfold. I'll only coach and mentor you to the degree you recognize my authority over you. So the first thing I wanted to teach you is to manage your shift. Number 2, discover your life purpose. We're in the world of imagination, and I just want you to imagine I'm holding an axe and I want to cut down a tree. I sharpen my axe and I hit this tree. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I get tired, I get exhausted, I keep the axe down. Today is Tuesday. Tomorrow is Wednesday. Same tree, same spot. I hit it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I get tired, I keep it down. I take a break. I repeat, same tree, same spot on that day. I'm not going to hit it 15 times or 100 times, just 5 times. I repeat on Saturday. I repeat on Sunday. I repeat on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that's the next week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Please speak to me, each one of you, if you don't mind. The tree will? I can't hear you. The tree will? Watch this. Some trees may take 2 years to come down. Others may take 2 months or 2 weeks or 2 hours. But surely as the day follows the night, that tree will come down. And here is the tragedy in Kenya. Somebody opens a boutique in January. It doesn't work. By April, they try a butchery. It doesn't work. By December, they are suppliers of cement. You cut one tree, it's so hard. By April, you try another tree, this is mahogany. By December, you've tried every tree in the forest, and you're complaining no tree is coming down. Is that familiar? Just to drill this point home, I'll mention very, very familiar names. So tell me what you identify them with. Let's try. Bill Gates. Microsoft, fantastic. Mark Zuckerberg. Facebook, okay, that's America. Let's cross over to Far East. Jack Ma. Okay, that's still out of the country. Let's try Kenyan names. Can we? Dr. James Mwangi. Terry Mogai. Oh, we are doing well. Oh, that's business. Let's cross over. Let's get out of business. David Rudisha. Which one? 800 meters. Fantastic. Churchill. Now, let's put your name there. Let's put your name. What's your name?
Andrew.
Which Andrew? Can we go to the streets? What's your name? What's your name? Let's put your name there and hear from there.
Clarice. Effie.
Can we walk just this street alone and ask guys, who is Clarice? You know, you are all brads. The question is how strong your brad is. The names I mentioned, all of us knew them. Notice, the richest man on earth, when I said Bill Gates, you all said Microsoft. What is this deception of trying a million things? I found my 5. Every day I read, every day I write, every day I follow thoughts, I ask myself critical questions, I do reflective thinking. Some people tell me, Doc, there is so much money in fuel energy, renewable energy. I tell them that's true. Every day I read, every day I write, every day I follow thoughts. Every day I ask myself critical questions, and I do reflective thinking. Some people tell me there's so much money in selling computers or software, name it. I say that's true. We can't all fit there. Let me tell you what I do. Every day I'll read, every day I'll write, I'll follow thoughts, I'll do reflective thinking, and ask myself critical questions. Doc, do you do that on Sunday? Yes. Do you do that on Christmas? Yes. I stopped working long ago. I found my place. And that place, when you find it, you find your rest. You begin flowing in your gift. You stop a life of struggles. Birds never enroll for flying school. Fish never enroll for swimming lessons. And tree seedlings never study afforestation. They just flow in the gift. And outside your gift, you'll be flying against the weeds, swimming against the current, and growing against nature. Life is difficult. It's an uphill assignment. Why work against yourself? By flowing against your natural tide. The beginning of the conversation is finding your space. And this is called purpose. I'll never forget, about 3 years ago, there was a business meeting in Mombasa. It was a huge meeting. There were many people and they were introducing themselves. It took almost 2 hours just for introductions. I picked a gentleman as an illustration of the tree conversation, the one I'm having with you right now. And I brought him forward. And I said, I don't know this guy. I don't even remember the name. But this guy must be a multimillionaire. Jane Isiaho, the regional manager, KCB, stood up. She said, Doc, let me tell you more about this guy. You know, this was a humble guy, characteristic of the modest African men who don't like looking like they're bragging. He was taking a very low profile. So Jane Isiaho, trying to rescue this man, said, look, Doc, I want to tell you something. I run the largest branch of any bank in Coast Province. And this individual you picked, he holds 30% of the bank's deposits in his personal account. But the real question is, how did you discover this guy? I said it's simple. He stood and said from the age of 19 up to now when he's 66 years of age, he has only done one business, tea business. He started with a pickup, a lorry, a truck. Now he's doing containers overseas. You can never go wrong. If you choose to move on from this great business, you reputed mutual faulu. And if you choose not to look for a job, if you choose that direction, please do not invest a coin until you find your tree. Now, I've never had a job. I was the first Kenyan to have a PhD in project management. I've never been employed anywhere. So if you're looking to go into business, please trust what I'm telling you, because I've been in this thing for so long. Don't hit the road running. You'd rather take a week doing reflection and connect with your inner rudder. Connect with your space, because you might waste every single coin and precious time. I teach a lot on purpose. It is at my heart level. Last week, but one, I took guys to 3 places, Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand. We're doing a cruise just to help them every single day for 5 days connect with your life purpose. And this August, I'll take another group from Southampton in the UK all the way to Italy and back. Now, I realize many Kenyans may not be in position to afford those cruises. So I decided to do a crush program for the average Kenyan. So on 13th of October, I normally do it twice a year. I did it 10th of February. I'll do it again 13th of October. We still have a few slots. It's only 10K. We stay there for 12 hours. We call it 12 hours of transformation, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at Lillian Towers, inclusive of your lunch, teas, for just 12 hours. And I have some models I use to help people connect with your life purpose. But I'll be very frank with you. The beginning of this conversation is discovering your life purpose. This takes me to the third step of reinventing yourself, personal visioning. I personally define a vision as the extent to which you reveal your life purpose. The extent to which you reveal your life purpose. That's why We have to start the conversation by asking ourselves, what is my purpose? The extent to which I reveal it is my vision, the ideal situation. And you can't vision cast in a quiet place, in a noisy place. The quieter you are, the louder you hear. That's why I'm suggesting retreat. And retreating doesn't mean just getting out of people. Try to have a personal reflection. I'll give you some forces just to help you in vision casting. The first C, I call it clarity. A vision must be clear. Clarity breeds understanding. The more clear the vision is to you, the clearer it is to others. Clarify what you're doing. Only then can you communicate to others. People don't give people money. People invest in a vision. If you're not willing to invest in your business, you're not yet clear. The second C, I call it concrete, meaning a vision must be tangible. It must be real. It must be felt. There must be buy-in. It must be something people can believe in. If it's outrageous, somebody comes and tells you, please bring your 50,000, and in 2 years, I'm going to give you back some 2 million. Does it sound like something you can believe in? But do you know a lot of Kenyans are doing that? Yeah. Somebody just makes a presentation, and you find a learned Kenyan like you believing that in 2 years, this money will be 300 times. What's wrong with us? Number 3, a vision must be concise, brief, in other words. Less is more. Eliminate the unnecessary so that the necessary may speak. Don't say too much, but just say enough to clarify your vision. Any good vision should be explained in one statement. Nobody should struggle to say what you're doing. If you cannot be explained in one statement, for example, what's my job? I'm a conference speaker and corporate trainer, period. If at the end of the day people ask you, what do you do? And you start giving stories that no one is able to explain to another person. In less than a statement, anybody should be able to explain what Dr. Kenyajui does. It's that simple. If another person cannot explain your story, then there's an issue. Are we communicating? Because after this, if you're going to launch into your own business and produce your own business cards, please make sure within 2 minutes you're able to explain to someone what you do. In fact, when you hear people asking you, Baduna, do you steal? They're doubting your brand credibility. It is not predictable. Baduna kuanga, baduna fanyanga. There's an issue. Baduna fanya kwa insurance. Yeah, that's the word. Now, you should grow, but consistently in your line. There should be growth, but not a change of careers 1 million times. You see, I've seen a lot of employees who have 20 types of CVs. One place they're known as financial advisors, another CV marketers, another one administrators, depending on where they're looking for the job. Another place they are packaging themselves as project managers. In fact, you look like a crook. If all these employers met together, there would be a culture shock. Who are you? Because your CV changes to fit an employer. And number 4, a vision must be compelling. It must rally people into action. A visionary must rally people to action. In other words, to go where they themselves cannot go on their own. And you are going to be the visionary in your business or in your next career. Even if you stay here, in that unit where you are leading, you must be inspiring action. Remember this, people never read your vision statement in your websites or in your service charter. The proof is in the pudding. They check in the lives of the implementers. That's how people check whether you believe in those terms you use, like integrity, professionalism, terms that are used across industries. I don't know whether there's service delivery here. By reading your service charter, it doesn't tell me much. What tells me much, if I come for a claim at UAP, because I had, say, a write-off, how long does it take for me to get my car back? That's the service delivery I understand as a customer. Not what you have written there. Service delivery is just a political statement. I'm not suggesting you delete it. I'm suggesting you instill it in the lives of people so that it is lived, not just explained. And this takes me to my core business tonight, personal branding. While personal identity is what you think about yourself, personal branding is what others think about you. People's perception about you. You cannot force people to like you. Remember this, personal branding is not your real value. It's not your true value. It is your perceived value. If you don't give people your broad story, they will create one for you. If you don't tell people who you are, they will decide for you, and they will rumamoga for you. So what do people talk about you when you're not in the room? What do they say about you? That's their perceived value, and that's your broad value. And that's the business we need to focus on right now. It doesn't matter how your esteem is so high. You are paid depending on the perception, because you're paid what people think you're worth. Even your employer pays you what they think you're worth. It's a perceived value. So let me give you some 7 reasons why you need to be deliberate about personal branding. Personal branding boosts your self-confidence. Isn't it true that you feel good when you know you're needed, when you know you're valued, when you know you have something significant to offer others? You feel good about yourself. When your product, your service, and your personal brand is needed, you feel good. Your self-esteem, your self-confidence soars up like the eagle. When you're deliberate about your personal brand, it raises your confidence levels. Why personal brand? Number 2, you stand out. You enhance your visibility and presence. As human beings, we are hardwired to notice that which is different. We are hardwired to notice someone dressed in red in a sea of black clothing. When you're like every other person in your marketplace, then your customers are likely to bypass you. When you're deliberate about personal branding, you differentiate yourself. Now, I have been deliberate about my personal branding. And perhaps I could intertwine the importance of personal branding with my own life. For example, I decided I'm going to have everything I teach on my fingertips. I can take you through 100 different lessons offhand for a whole week, and I do this many times. Now, this doesn't necessarily make me the greatest speaker on earth, but it makes me unique. It makes me different. Personal branding is not how superior you are, it's how different you are from the rest. Can you easily be seen? Can you easily be identified? Secondly, I chose in my speaking career, I'll not repeat myself. And one primary reason you're seated where you're seated is because you have no clue what I'm going to say next. Now, how will you differentiate yourself? That's the question. Not how superior you are from the others, but how different you are from the others. Number 3, why personal branding? You attract people. People genuinely want to assist you, but nobody will come to help you figure out what you want to do in life. Nobody will come to help you figure out what you want to do in life except your mentor and perhaps your mother. The rest of us will walk with you to the extent we sense our destinies crisscross. They are inextricably bound to each other. If people don't call you, they are sending a very strong message. They don't need you. Never complain why people are not calling you. When they're not calling you, they are sending a very strong message. You're not adding value to me. When you begin adding value to me, I will know your number. People are looking for what you can do with them. That's the reality. They're looking for your possession. They're looking for your service. I regret to remind you, if you're going to be leaving this place, there are people who will not call you again. They were looking for the financial advisor in UAP because they are making a claim for their car, and that position will be filled by another person. In case you're leaving. Isn't that the case? If you stay here, always have with this thing in mind. They are not looking for you. They are looking for the service. They are looking for the service so that you don't make things difficult for the customer. If they don't get that service, they will go to another person. They will escalate matters until their service is settled. So here is the deal. When you're deliberate about personal branding, we begin to look for you. In other words, if you live here and 6 months later, people are not looking for you, except your family, then that tells you you need to work on your brand. Personal branding makes you memorable. Number 4, personal branding helps you focus your efforts. When you're deliberate about your personal brand, you recognize what's on brand and what's off brand for you. You avoid secondary activities. There are many good things happening around us. For example, football, a great game, but I never watch football because my brand dictates my choices. It dictates my hobbies. It dictates my interests. Because I'm deliberate with my personal brand, that hour you're watching Man U, I'm watching T.D. Jakes. I'm watching John Maxwell. I'm watching Rick Warren. Why? I'm deliberate about my personal brand. So I would rather relax adding value to my brand. My personal brand dictates my choices and values and interests. So when you're deliberate about your brand, you recognize what's on brand and what's off brand for you. Number 5, why personal branding? You earn more. When you're deliberate about your personal brand, you earn more. You're paid more for your individuality. If you hear there's a new technique of dealing with eyes, I have some glasses. And they tell you now, we are no longer putting the chip, we're using a laser. By the way, that technology is there. We are using a laser to correct your eyes. You don't need any lenses. Then you ask the doctor, have you ever done this before? No, we have studied about it. We tested it on rats. It worked on rats. You're the first guy we are testing on. Very few of you will take your eyes for that laser correction. Correct? But when you hear 10 other guys have been tested, then you take a chance. And maybe you tell them, first let's try with one eye. I'll come after 2 weeks. Now, when you're deliberate about your personal brand, when your name and message is perpetually, continually embedded in the consciousness of your target market, you earn more. Why personal branding? Number 6, you get fulfilled. You get fulfilled. When you're deliberate about your personal brand, you feel fulfilled. Why? I can tell you this. This afternoon, there's nothing else I'd have chosen to do except what I'm doing. This is my oxygen. This is what I'll do to my very last breath. Most people hate Monday mornings primarily because they are up to something they hate, but they must. You know what reminds you why you have to come to work? There's a child back at home, there's some school fees, there's a car loan, there's a mortgage that forces you to come here even when you're not in the moods. You don't come to Old Mutual when you feel like. You come here on purpose. Whether it rains, whether it is. But when you're in your personal brand, you look forward to Monday morning. Let me tell you this. The one thing that can stress me is if nobody's looking for me. If there's no assignment looking for me. And that's the difference when you operate in your brand. For many of you here, you're excited if there's an indefinite leave, especially because of a political climate. Now, when there was a political issue in Kenya, that stressed me. Now that's a potential stress to me and anyone else operating their brand. Number 7, why personal branding? You build something that others can build on. Now, I know there could be many explanations why President Uhuru Kenyatta won elections. But it's my considered opinion, one major reason why he is the president is because of the brand Jomo Kenyatta. He didn't need to introduce himself to the country. He was riding on an existing brand. And if you don't believe it, what's your name? Just declare 2022, I'm Khaled Maina, I'm running for elections. Just declare. That's when you know the power in a name. Some people doubt your sanity. And maybe he has better ideas than President Uhuru. This guy has serious ideas. He has been in the corporate world. But he's not having a major asset because I have never in my life heard of the Khaled Mainas. The same thing about my grandfather. Nobody knew him. Except his neighbor, immediate neighbor. Nobody. I'm the only known person in my lineage since Adam. Now look at Mandela. His grandchildren are riding on brand Nelson Mandela. They have even come up with a wine known as Nelson Mandela. Why? You identify Nelson Mandela. You try to sell a wine called Caleb Maina. You might drink it yourself. When you build a personal brand, a strong brand, your children don't have to start the same place where you started. My son wants to be a speaker. Fortunately, I named him Zig after Zig Ziglar, who was a speaker. He's really thinking about it day in, day out. Maybe one of these days we should talk about the power in a name. Now, everybody's a brand. The real question is, how strong is your brand? Just give you something slightly technical, just to help you develop your brand proposition. So write it down. I'm going to give you some 4 questions. Question number 1, what do you do? Question number 2, who do you do it for? Remember this, it doesn't matter whether you stay in this business, whether you look for a job, or whether you go into business. What will make you to earn more in this life is your ability to personal brand. It doesn't matter where you go. James Moria joined Centum Group. with one job, to be in the store. When people are looking for prestigious positions, he said he wants to be in the store. Little did the people know that this guy wanted to go and study the company. So he was there. You can call him a storekeeper if you like, with his law degree, and he had done CPA-K, NCPS-K. Highly educated people. But what do we do here? I have a degree, I cannot go to Kirinyaga Road. We have a lot of inhibitions. Karopia with his law degree went to the store. And then he began to read all the documents in that company. One day there was an abrupt interview. They were going through a similar process, redundancy. The entire interviewing panel were mesmerized, shocked by how much this guy understood the company, even more than the interviewers. Now you understand why the chairman, Chris Kirubi, had to ask him, write a strategy on how to take this company to the next level. And by the age of 32, he's already the CEO, who has renegotiated terms with his employer, not just a salary. You wonder why now he's the highest paid CEO in Kenya, because it's not about the salary. He was not looking for the salary. He was so confident with himself that he said, look, I just need a certain slice. Give me a percentage. I can deliver. I need us to discuss the bonus story, not the salary story. Is it possible for me to reach a point that I cannot be ignored? That anyone else can go except me? Can I reach that level? Because I ask myself the same question. If I come to an organization like this one, Willie Jackie never call me again, I know they have no problem. I have a problem. I didn't deliver. They had a clear terms of reference, and it is they have spoken very clearly about my delivery. That's the same thing I'm asking you, because every moment you keep pointing to others, you never change something serious about yourself. You continue to admire other things, huge vehicles, holiday destinations, without realizing you're gazing at a mirage, glaring at an illusion. True change is what happens inside an individual when they come to ask themselves these hard questions. Why am I not making progress? Because these capitalists don't care your age, they don't care your title, they care your value add. So question number 3, what do they want? And question number 4, and the last one, how will it help them? Now, in broad language, question number 1, what do you do? Put a hyphen, product, stroke service. Question number 2, who do you do it for? Hyphen, target audience. Question number 3, what do they want? Hyphen, need analysis. Question number 4, and the last one, how will it help them? Promise, or rather, broad promise. Now, the response to those 4 questions is your broad proposition. And that's what should appear in your CV. And here's the deal. If you're not able to answer in your current position, project to your future self in 5 years, in 10 years, and answer those questions. And always ensure you over-deliver. You'd rather add a promise and over-deliver rather than over-promise and under-deliver. Now, each one of you listening to me here tonight is a brand. How strong is your brand? I want to make some suggestions to make your brand strong. Is it true? If I pick a shirt at Gekoba and take it to Woolworth, people are going to peg a higher price on the same shirt? Does that make sense? If they iron the shirt and take it to Woolworth, you are likely to pay much more, thinking it has a higher value. Why? Where it is located and who it is associated with. Of course, who is a bad thing for a shirt. But I'm talking about you. A dear friend of mine was taking a cup of tea at TBC Place. Now, this guy was working for Symphony. As I said, I just want to give you local stories. Somebody picked him. This was a white guy who saw him there and said, please, could you come over and work with us, HP? They didn't know this guy was earning 30K with Symphony Group. And they didn't even bother to ask about his pay slip. You know those companies that ignore the HR procedures? 350 in one single job, simply because of why he was taking his cup of tea. Who you are seen with? If today people see you with corporate leaders and corporate executives, they think you belong to that class. They think when you're looking for a job, you're looking at that level. At the same time, if you're seeing the guy who is pushing a mkokoteni, I guarantee you, they'll start thinking yours is broken. How do you add your value? I'm saying by where you are located and who you are associated with. The third way, and the most sure way, is called mastery. The third way of ensuring you raise your brand value, mastery. Be the very best in what you do. Don't play second fiddle. Never release it until it is world class. Be a merchant of wow. Exceed expectations. Go beyond the promise. The world doesn't recognize anything except the very best. Do you know this wonderful lady here does not know the Vice President of Russia? Let me test. No idea. But you all know the President of Russia. His name is? Vladimir Putin. That's how harsh the world is. I'm not encouraging competition. I'm only saying this. We only recognize the very best. Here is the deal. Mastery. How do you master? Repetition. Doing what you're doing over and over and over and over again. If I'm a financial advisor, I'll hit the road running at 6 in the morning. I'll come up with a tough target that I have to reach 10 people today. I'll set those goals the previous night, not this day, because I'll start setting those goals emotionally and conveniently. If it rains, I'll change direction. If I was supposed to go to industrial area, I'll stop. So I'll set my goals the night before, and I'll ensure I will not sleep until that checklist is done. I'll push myself, because when I'm hard on myself, life becomes infinitely easier on me and for me. Never, 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 never go to sleep until you accomplish what you have purpose to do today. That's the simple rule about mastery, because whatever you postpone about today, you spend tomorrow repairing. What you don't do today, you spend tomorrow repairing. How do we ensure we master this thing? By saying no to many things that come on our way and saying yes to that one thing. I call it focus. Focus is the ability to say no. Focus is not just knowing what to do, but even knowing what not to do. Wisdom is not just knowing what to do, but even more importantly, knowing what not to do. According to Confucius, he who chases two rabbits catches neither. Bruce Lee once said, I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks. I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. In his book, The Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell says, the Beatles were the best band in all human history because of getting 10,000 hours of practice. He later compiled this into what he called the 10,000 hour rule, suggesting if you do something for 100 times, it's good. If you practice 1,000 times, it's game changing. If you practice for 10,000 hours, it's life changing. I have seen it myself. If you practice something long enough, you become the master, and people begin to look for you. You can no longer be ignored. Let me be specific. What are you doing here for this business?
Risk management.
Risk management. This is what I'm saying. Study about risk beyond this business. Get to know how to come up with risk framework. Be so good at it that any business in this region looks for you. Eric's name and risk management become synonymous. Am I communicating? Then it doesn't matter which company. It doesn't matter who looks at you how, because you are no longer kept by Winnie. You are kept by risk management. Does that make sense? You know, if you are kept by Winnie, what happens? When Winnie leaves, you have to leave. So the question is, how do you become an outlier? How do you get out of that normal curve? That's the question we're asking ourselves. Because nobody will get you out of the normal curve. Only you can do it. Are you with me? Do you realize you cannot fire David Rudisha? Because you can't hire him. When you become exceptionally good at what you do not need this talk. You need another talk. I need to be discussing with you on scaling up and raising your standard. I should be discussing with you about strategic thinking. It is never too late to be what you might have been. No journey is definite. No path is ideal. Self-discovery is an individual journey and a personal progress. What is tragic, however, is to reach the end of your journey, never coming to this realization of who you are, never coming to this moment of truth, the very reason for your existence. Mark Twain was right when he said, the two most important days in life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. Ernestine Shepard found out when she was 56. If you don't know who she is, go to 4th floor after this. You're going to see her picture right there at the reception. She's like any other lady here, except that she's 81 years of age, and she's the most recognized, oldest female bodybuilder on earth. Now, building a career to world recognition is not mean fate. Building a career to world recognition from the age of 56 stretches our imagination to a new level. If she could do it from the age of 56, and it's my considered opinion, my listeners tonight, almost all of you are below that. It's not too late to become what you intended to be. It is never too late to reinvent yourself. The Bible says that the entire world groans in earnest expectation for the manifestation of the sons of God. You know, for many years, when our mothers couldn't deliver normally, the surgeon's knife would rip open the womb in excruciating pains. They would tie their hands, and the midwives sometimes would even slap them to tell them be bold enough. Very few of them made it. Most succumbed. Until 1846, when Stephen Morton discovered anesthesia and delivery, or any other operation for that matter, was no longer life-threatening because one man revealed himself. In 1776, Abraham Graham Bell made that first telephone call. Things you take for granted. I'm here because someone gave us a phone call. And the technology now moved on to pave way for the internet because one man revealed himself. 17th of December 1903, two bicycle mechanics made the first, or rather the maiden flight. They were not manufacturers of bicycles, they were mechanics. There were no aviation colleges in those days, or colleges of aviation or aeronautical engineering. It is today very easy for you to visualize something up there. They had never seen anything artificial in the air. No training in piloting or engineering, but they visualized it. And today, distances that used to take years to travel take just a few hours because two bicycle mechanics manifested themselves. Bacterial ailments used to take people to the grave. Things you take for granted, like tonsillitis, when they inflame tonsils. But in 1928, Alexander Fleming gave us the first penicillin and ushered way to antibiotics. Today, these things no longer threaten our health and our lives by extension. Polio was a crippling disease. Many of you recognize the name of Reverend Jackson Kosgei, the father of the famed musician Emmy Kosgei. He's on wheelchair, courtesy of polio. The only U.S. president to have ruled for more than 2 terms, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, finished from a wheelchair, courtesy of polio. But in 1955, Dr. Jonas Salk tested polio vaccines in the public realm. Today, cases of polio are virtually non-existent in the United States. We have a few cases here in Kenya because of our Pola-Somali border. And he refused to patent his invention because he lived for a greater cause, the cause of humanity. Had he patented polio vaccine, he would have died a multi-billionaire. But he lived for you and me. All of you have been vaccinated against polio. That's why today you have no danger against polio. So I leave you with this challenge. The whole world is groaning in earnest expectation for the manifestation of the sons and daughters of God. Shall you reveal yourself, or shall you be afraid of yourself? There's a need that needs you. When God gives you a gift, he expects you to optimize it for the sake of others. When you don't do it, that gift is taken away from you and given to the person who is utilizing that gift, and you're judged for it. That's the judgment that guy who had 1 talent received. There's a need that needs you. Be bold enough to reveal yourself, reinvent yourself, and manifest what you are designed before world began. Thank you very much, and God bless you.